So today's session of InfoTouch University Online is going to cover the matrix function. The matrix function is principally used in the apparel and shoe store industries. It is not a huge function, but it is one that is very important to people in those segments of the retail market. It's kind of a checkbox feature on a lot of RFPs and questions you might get from your prospects. So the ability to say yes to it will get you to the next step, whereas ability, if you say no, you very might likely just find yourself looking for a new customer. What is the matrix function? Actually, there's 3 different parts to it, and we're going to go over each of those. But let's step back and talk about the background of it first and why it's important in these markets. So if I buy men's shoes from Adidas, and various styles come out from time to time, I'm typically buying them in a given set of sizes and widths. So I buy 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I buy widths B, C, D, E, double E, etc. And I do that time after time. So if Adidas comes out with a new brand of shoes or a new style of shoes, I'm going to probably want to be ordering those and stocking them and taking a look at pricing them, generally based on the same criteria that I used the last time. I want to be able to manage all the combinations from 6B to 11 double E and all the ones in between in a way that's intuitive, quick, and easy. In the clothing side, and forgive me, I'm less familiar with women's clothes than men's, so I'll keep on using men's examples. When I buy a pair of pants, I buy it in a particular waist and inseam. Again, if I'm buying Levi's men's jeans, I'm going to buy waists 28, 30, 32, 34, etc. and inseams of, again, 30, 32, 34, what have you. But I'm likely to do that same thing over and over again. So what the matrix function allows you to do is to create a bunch of items that are very similar. I mean, typically I don't charge anything different from my size 9C shoe to my size 9D shoe. They don't typically cost me any different. I probably want to keep similar minimum and maximum quantities for those items to make it easy for me to reorder. So matrix allows you to basically group together a bunch of items. First time you're going to put in some information. After that, you can still put in information manually, or you can actually recall the settings that you put in previously. You can modify those items on a grid, kind of like a spreadsheet, and then it turns out you can order them as well from your vendors using the same kind of grid or spreadsheet approach. So let's start from scratch here. We're going to say that Adidas has come out with a new line of tennis shoes, and they're named after Roger Federer. So a great tennis player. We're going to come out with a new line of shoes, and we're going to want to have a whole bunch of, again, various sizes and widths that I as the store order this from and sell it to my customers. And the way you do that is by starting first with creating what we typically call a base item. A base item here could be an actual size width combination for this new style of shoes, or it actually can be kind of essentially a dummy item, if you would, or you might even call it a master item that you're going to tie all of these other ones to. There's no correct approach here. I'll start out actually by creating a real item for our new line of shoes. So I'll go into Create Inventory. I'm going to select my men's department. I already, as it turns out, have Adidas in here, so I'll just select that. But I'm going to create a new style for Mr. Federer. And I will simply arbitrarily at this point pick one of the combinations of widths and sizes that I'm going to order. So let's say I order starting with size or width B, width B and size number 6. So we now have the information for this item. Let's say this item costs me $25. Let's make that $25. And I'm going to sell it for $60. Okay. It's important, by the way, as we create our quote-unquote base item here, to put in important information that you want copied to the other, in this case, sizes and widths that we're going to create in just a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this base record and essentially duplicate it for a bunch of different items, simply varying the different sizes and widths based on what we tell us the system that we want to do. So in this case, in particular, since I want to also show you how this works with purchasing, I'm also going to make sure to put in the fact that I want a minimum of 20 of these in stock, and I'd like to have a maximum of 40. I'm not going to worry about my reorder quantity for now. The item is taxed, no problem. One other important thing, very important if we're going to use purchasing, is to link this item to a vendor. So we'll select 123 Distributors, Inc. So we've now created a men's shoe in a size 6B for Roger Federer's, our brand new style. We save the item. Okay, so now we have our base item, and we have to basically do this once for each new style that comes in the door. Once we have that base item, we use the transform inventory function for both creating the groups of related items in the different, in this case, sizes and widths, and we're modifying those items. So let's say we want to change the price on them, or maybe they're selling like hotcakes and we want to up the minimum quantity. We'll see in just a second that the matrix function makes this very easy to do. So let's create, first of all, our different sizes and widths, and the system basically takes you through a little wizard here, and it's telling you what you're going to do. You're going to create a group of related items based on the settings of a base record that you have already created. Then we're going to enter a list of values for things like sizes and widths. And by the way, it can be for more than two different, what we call indices. So a size is an index, a width is an index. You might also want to track this by color. No problem. We actually support up to 4 indices, although I would say that 2, size width, length inseam, are the most common. So after a little introduction here, we click Next, and now we need to find this base item in order to be able to replicate it. So here's our men's shoes. Here's our Adidas. There's our Federer. And it turns out we only have one in there right now, so we can just select it very quickly and easily. So what we're doing right now is saying this is our base record. Once we're done with that, we click Select. Okay, how many indices do you want to have this replicated across? And again, most common is going to be 2, although we do support up to 4. So size, width, color, season, what have you. But let's stick with the most common example. And now we get a screen where we get to enter in the various sizes and widths that we're going to be ordering. So I order B, C, D, E, and double E. Great. Okay, that's one index. The next one is for size. Again, you'll notice it's telling you what you're entering in here. And to make this easy, I'm just going to put in 6, 7, 8, and 9. Obviously, I'd probably want to order some additional sizes. You can put in as many as you like. And what the software is going to do at this point is tell you we're ready to go, and we are going to create every single size width combination based on what you entered into the system. We're going to create a new item for each of those combos, and we're going to copy all of the information from the base record, which is why it was important to put that in the first place, to each of these new items. And as you notice, it didn't take very long. But if we go in and we take a look now, and let's just go into Modify Inventory, under men's, Adidas, Federer. You'll notice before we only had the one with B. Now we got B, C, D, E, and double E. And if we select one of those, we're going to find we've got the sizes that we entered as well. So literally every combination from B6 to double E9 has been created. It's copied the cost from the base record. It's copied the price, the minimum and maximum, the tax status, the vendor. Actually, everything about the record is copied with the exception of, in this case, the size and widths that are different from one item to the next. So with just a few clicks now, we have created a bunch of different sizes and widths. Each of these is a separate item or SKU, by the way, and tracked separately, so we know exactly how many we have on hand. We may not sell a lot of 6Bs, whereas we might sell a whole lot of 9Ds. So we want the system to be able to track that, to report on that, to analyze profit based on that. And of course, when it comes time to reorder, we only want to reorder what we need based on what we've sold. One other thing I want to point out to you is, let's say that we now come a few weeks later and Adidas comes out with a Federer low top shoe. Maybe the original one was a high top. Okay, let's go back into our matrix create. Oops, sorry. Before we go into our matrix create, we have to create our base record for each of these new brands that come out. So men's, Adidas, let's call it Fed-low, and again we'll put in a B6 and type. And let's say this low top's a little cheaper, it's only $20 and we sell it for $50. We're going to keep minimum of 10 on hand and order up to 15. And we'll get this from our same supplier, 123 Distributors. Okay, so now I want to create the various sizes and widths for this new style of Roger Federer tennis shoe. Let's go into our matrix create and into our selecting the item and men's, Adidas. Make sure we pick out the new Federer low top, and we'll select that as our base. And again, we'll just use the size and width to modify across. And now you might think, well, I now got to type in B, C, D, E, and double E, and 6, 7, 8, and 9. But in fact, what you can do is import from your existing selection. So if we look at the top, you'll notice here is a set of files as a file that contains all the sizes we did for the Federer sizes and widths, automatically created by the system. Simply select the one you want, open it up, and there's our styles, or excuse me, our widths, sorry. Same thing with the sizes. Here's our Federer sizes. So just with a few clicks now, and of course instead of 6 or 8, there could be 120 of these. We avoided all of that retyping and have now gone ahead and created a separate set of Federer shoes that are in the same sizes and widths as we ordered the last time without having to retype them. So the matrix create function always will go ahead and save off that list for you and make it very easy to reuse for future use. So that's how we create items using the matrix function. From time to time, the manufacturer is going to come out with a price change. We may decide we want to change the minimum quantities we keep in stock. Here's where we use the matrix modify function. And again, we need to pick a record. I don't want to call it the base record this time. It's actually any record in that set of sizes and widths we created. So let's pick out men's, Adidas, Federer. But instead of choosing size or width B, let's start with D, and we'll pick a size in the middle to number 8, because it actually does not matter. What happens once you pick any one of these is you get a spreadsheet kind of looking thing. So down here on our rows, we have our sizes 6, 7, 8, 9, and across our column tops, B, C, D, E, and double E. You'll also note that there are a variety of fields that can be changed. So let's start with the minimum quantity. Let's say this Federer has been a hot seller, and we're going to want to up the minimum quantity from 20 to 25. And to keep things simple right now, we're going to do that for everything. So it doesn't really matter which cell we pick right now. I have to say modify, and we're going to change that minimum from 20 to 25. Okay, well, that just did it for the 1/6b size. I said I wanted to do it for everything. Well, that's where our copy to function is. So copy to where? Column. If I wanted to only increase my minimum quantity for my B widths, I would select that. If I wanted to only change this for my size 6 shoes, I'd select row. Or if I select all, boom, it just changed every single one of them. We can do that for maximum quantity. We can do that for the reorder quantity, which we haven't talked about, and it's not used that much these days. I'm going to skip over UPC for just 1 second and also come back to the fact that we can use this function for changing the cost of all these items. Maybe this actually went up to $26. So let's go ahead and update all of those as well. And we now want to change our retail price from 60 to 65. Again, we'll copy that to all the cells. So in a matter of a few clicks, we've changed the minimum, maximum, cost, and retail price of, let's see, it's 4 times 5 is 20 different items. So it's a very quick and easy way to make those changes to related items. You can also change, by the way, your price levels. In this case, we have a discount, senior citizen, and frequent price buyer level. Well, we're not going to worry about that for now. I did want to come back to the UPC. There's one difference between the UPC and the other fields. Every item that has a UPC field must have a unique one. Blank is fine, but once you get something in there, you have to make sure that it's unique. So when you do put in a UPC field, I'm not just piping in a bunch of stuff here, you'll notice the copy to function is not available because it does not make any sense to copy the UPC field from one item to the next. Okay, so we've made our changes. All we have to do is click Save, and that's it. They're all done. Again, if we go back to Modify Inventory, take a look at our Federer shoes. You notice the minimum quantity is now 25, cost is up to 26, retail price is 65, and that's true for every single possible combination. So as I go, here's 7, here's 8, 9, here's size C6. They're all changed in one fell swoop. So modify inventory, the matrix modify function and the matrix create function makes it easy to create a bunch of these items that are linked together and to make changes to them quickly and easily. Okay, the last section where the matrix function comes in has to do with ordering in our replenishment module. This is where we create purchase orders. And here the function, again, is more like the matrix modify. We're going to pick some item out, and then we're going to get a grid that allows us to tell the system for all the items in that grid, for all the size width combinations, what do I want to order? So let's start off looking up inventory. I don't have a Federer button down here just yet, so no problem. I'll just hit OK. And here's the Federer lows. And there's the first ones we created. I'll just pick one at random. So it's $25 cost. We don't have any on hand. We get it from 1 through 2, 3 distributors. Okay, so we've picked one of those items and we say we're going to order them. But we now would like to employ the matrix function to make that ordering a lot simpler and easier than having to do it item by item. Here's how you do that. Under the More Functions button, you'll see a button called Matrix on the top right-hand side. And what it will do is it will take a look at the last item in your PO, and if you had 23 items, it would still be looking just at the last one, and say, okay, here's that same kind of matrix grid look we saw with the modify function. Our sizes 6, 7, 8, 9, our widths B, C, D, E, and double E, and we have a variety of fields of which the first one is actual order. You have a bunch of other information you can look at, however, you cannot touch it. So the suggested order, in fact, right now is identical to the actual order. It's saying, based on the quantity you have on hand, the quantity you have on order, your minimum and maximums, we think you want to order 56 Bs and, 46 Bs and 46 Cs and 40 of everything else, except for that number B7. Why? Because we already have one in there. So we don't need to order a 41st one, we just want to get up to our maximum quantity of 40. Now, I can't change the suggested order here. You'll notice there's no ability to hit the modify button. The rest of the fields here are allow you to look at things about the item without touching them. So here's how many I have on hand, none. Here's my minimum quantities, 25. Here's my maximums, etc. What you can change is the actual order. So it starts out as suggested. We think you have none in stock. Your minimum is 25. Your maximum is 40. So you want to order 40 to get up to your maximum. Let's say, though, for example, we'll take this first cell here. We don't sell a lot of 6Bs. I'm going to modify that. I only want to order 30 of these guys. No problem. And I can copy this information to the other widths for that shoe or the other sizes for that shoe. In this case, I'm not going to bother with it. And all we have to do is hit save. And all of a sudden, we have ordered all the items we needed for this Federer in all the different sizes and all the different widths. And we're ready to go and complete our purchase order for $20,000. So that's the basic approach with matrix ordering, is that it allows you to select one of that group of related items, pull it up on a nice grid, allow you to make changes if you want, but we'll go ahead and suggest for you, the same way we do with automatic PO generation, how many we think you need to order to get up to your maximum quantity if your on hand plus on order is less than the minimum quantity. And that is basically it for the matrix function.